Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and try this again. This is what our class should have looked like today if Teams was cooperating, alright? You are going to need your homework out, so please go to the Transpiration Lab Part 2 assignment and make sure you open your homework, which is going to be called Homework Transpiration Lab Day 2. We're going to be focusing on the mung bean chart, specifically at the 10-minute mark. So that's going to be the first chart up at the top. So make sure we're at the mung bean chart, and specifically we're going to be working in the 10-minute mark. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is we need to calculate the rate for every single sample. So this is how your homework differs or is different from our classwork, right? Your classwork already had the rate calculated for you. This time you need to take what you learned on Monday, which is how to calculate the rate of volume of water being transpired over the surface area. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to take the 0.06, all right, and you're going to divide it by the surface area. So we're going to take 0.06 and we're going to divide that by 0.015. And when we do that in the calculator, our answer is going to be 4. So you're going to take this answer that you just got, and that is going to be the answer that we're going to write into that first area of your chart. Okay. If you were to do this for every single one, you would take the 0.08, and then you would take the 0.018, the 0.07, the 0.0117, 117, sorry, 0.09, 0.021, 0.09, 0.018, 0.06, and 0.0116. All right. When I remove the secret box, you're going to see that these are the answers that we get. All right. So we get 4 for the first one, 4.44 for the second one, 4.12, and so on and so forth. So you're going to add these numbers to that respected place. Okay. Now, moving on to the next step. Once we figure out all of the rates, we now need to calculate the mean. Okay. And the way we're going to calculate the mean is we're going to add up all of these numbers. The 4, the 4.44, the 4.12, the 4.29, the 5, and the 3.75. And we're going to divide it by the number of samples. So this kind of looks like we're taking the average, right? And so when I do that, I'm going to add up all of our rates first, and then I'm going to divide it by the number of samples. The answer that I get, which is 4.47, is going to be our mean. Moving on to standard deviation. All right. Now, standard deviation is going to be a lengthier process, and you are going to need scratch paper for this part. All right. There's 4 steps in standard deviation. The first step is you need to calculate the difference in the mean squared for each of your samples. And the way you do that is you're going to take the rate or the volume of water transpired over meters squared. In this case, we have the number 4. And you are going to subtract that by the mean that you calculated. In this case, we have 4.27. And you're going to square that answer. When you subtract 4 minus 4.27, you are going to get up here, what's right here, negative 0.27. And now in order to square this answer, guys, if you go on your iPhone, all you have to do is click the squared mark. Okay, you need to click the squared mark. And so when you do that, I'm going to go ahead and make this small again. Oh, my face is in the way. Let me put it back. There you go. When you do that, your answer should be, if I did this correctly, 4 minus 4.27 equals, and if I square that, my answer should be 0.07. 0.07. All right. Now you're going to notice that there's nowhere in your chart to write down these answers, which is why I told you that you need a scratch sheet of paper. Okay. So once you do all of those, this is what the answers look like. All right. You're going to see that when I do it for each column, I'm taking that rate and I am subtracting it by the mean for each one, and I square them. Okay, and these are the answers that I get. But we're not done. The next step in the standard deviation process is we need to take a sum of all of those differences of the means that we just did. Okay, that's what that E thing is. We need to add up all of those numbers that we just calculated. Now remember, I did have 0.07 here from what we calculated. It was 4 minus 4.27 squared. And we did this in the slide before. I just didn't add it. So I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to add them up, and it's going to give me this answer. So if I take 0.07 plus 0.03 plus 0.02 plus 0.004 plus 0.53 plus 0.274. I just calculated the sum of all of our answers. Okay, and that answer is going to be 0.92. All right, that answer is going to be 0.92. Once I do that, I calculated 0.92 for the sum. Okay, I'll calculate a 0.92 for the sum. I need to divide that by n minus 1. Now, n minus 1, that's not what I wanted to do. Didn't want you to see my big face. All right, n minus 1 is going to be the number of samples. Okay, so n minus 1 is going to be the number of samples. And, all right, the number of samples, we already found out that that's going to be 6. Okay, that's 6. All right, so when I show the answer, oops. When I show you all the answer, I'm going to have the 0.92 that I calculated divided by 6 minus 1. Now 6 minus 1 is 5, so all I have to do is 0.92 divided by 5 equals 0.184. But guys, I'm not done yet, alright? I'm still not done. I still need to take that number and find the square root. Okay, I still need to take that number and find the square root. And so I'm going to do the square root of 0.184. And so the way we do that is we type it into our calculator and we are going to click that square root sign. And it looks just like this. Okay, we're going to click that square root sign. Once you do that, you officially found the standard deviation. Okay, so let's move on. The next thing we need to find, all right, is going to be the standard error of the mean. And the standard error of the mean is simply taking that standard deviation we just calculated, which is 0.43, and dividing it by the number of samples. So we already know that the number of samples is 6. So I need to divide the standard deviation by the square root of the number of samples, which is 6. So that looks a little bit like this. I'm going to take 0.43, which was my standard deviation, and divide it by the square root of 6. The first thing that I like to do is figure out what the square root of 6 is, right? And so when I do that, I know that it's 2.45. And so now I can finally do 0.43 divided by 2.45, which is going to give me the 0.18. And that's the answer. That's it. That is how you calculate standard error of the mean. Okay? Now, our next job is to calculate 2 times the standard error of the mean. And well, guys, that's super easy because all you do is you take the standard error of the mean and you multiply it times 2. So if I were to get that and punch it into my calculator, I would have 0.18 times 2. That gives me 0.36. 0.36. And I can go ahead and type that in here, 0.36. Okay, and there's a decimal point right there, just in case you couldn't see it. All right. And that's it, guys. We went through every single step. If you have any questions, again, I am free all afternoon. Please chat me, all right? But this should really help you going through step by step, figuring out the math, all right? Tomorrow we will go over graphing. And so as of now, I just want you to do the math for the first 2 charts. Tomorrow in class, we'll go over graphing, and we should finally be done with this assignment. Again, I apologize for today's class, but I really hope this recording helps you, okay? Bye, guys.